Welcome to our webinar on digital continuity for the innovation process. We will focus in this webinar on how to increase speed and agility for your industrial operations. My name is Björn Manderbach. I'm Senior Manager in the Technical Sales Organization of DELMIA at Dassault Systèmes. So the question we will address is how digitalization can support the complete value creation chain and focus specifically on the role production has in this context. And we will also see how we can build the innovation process in the future. At Dassault Systèmes, we are seeing three levers which are driving this innovation process. The first one is the transformation from linear supply chains to value networks, where more and more partners are working together in order to deliver value and new business models to their customers. And with this, we have the task to be able to connect all these partners and provide the information they need in order to take good and actual decisions. The second lever is about combining virtual worlds and real operations in order to achieve sustainable excellence. And in Dassault Systèmes, we do this on the basis of our 3D Experience platform, which allows to have all the different partners involved in the building of the model and the running of operations to work together and to combine their knowledge. The third lever we see is to also take the workforce into account, to empower our employees and to give them also the ability to participate in what we see in the innovation which is taking place today, and to make them part of this journey and give them additional value in their daily operations. All these three levers together is a very strong concept, and at Dassault Systèmes we are talking about industry renaissance. I was mentioning already that we have the 3D Experience platform as the foundation of Dassault Systèmes to put all these three levers into action. And we will see in this webinar specifically how the 3D Experience platform can be used to build a 3D Experience twin of your operations. That means having the virtual model and combine it with the real world data. To see how Industry Renaissance, as we understand it, will work in action, I will run you through the Hannover Messe 2019 demo, which we built together with our partner ABB. And this demo highlights this continuity in the process all the way from initial design to capturing the data and the information from real operations. We were building this together with ABB, specifically as ABB is a good partner of us. And we just announced in the end of February this year a global software partnership. And in this partnership, Dassault Systèmes and ABB put together their solutions in order to provide 3D Experience twin to ABB customers for them to be able to capture and to build on the value that this virtual model brings together with their real operations. So you see here also in this picture that we were building the virtual model of our robot cell for the booth first, and then we had ABB in Sweden who were putting this into life, and you see the corresponding model that was the demonstrator that we had on our Hannover Messe booth. So for the demonstration of this continuity, we have 10 demo pods prepared, and these 10 demo pods are all focusing around this one demonstrator, and this is an ABB robot for spot welding application. And this is, for example, used in one of ABB's customers, which were also part of the story, as we had their facilities scanned with a 3D scan in order to have a brownfield environment on which we based part of our demo. And you see here now the complete flow from the initial design and validation of the ABB product, the robot, then to put it into context in the robotic cell. That means there's then more and more equipment which needs to be also put into production and be aligned with the operation of the robot. We have the third demo pod, which is about advanced simulation, which is covered by Dassault Systèmes Simulia portfolio. Which is then making sure that the product will be able to sustain and to be feasible in real operations. And from there, that's the pod 4 to 10, we are focusing on the manufacturing part of it. And as we are at this time focusing on industrial operations. These are the 4 demo pods from model-based manufacturing all the way to lean management that we will see in the next slides and that I will run you through. We are starting our journey with what we call model-based manufacturing, and this is about tackling the challenge of reducing the risk that you face when you invest into new equipment or that you change processes which are currently running in your facilities due to new product introduction or due to new technology which has been developed in the first 3 pods of this demo, for example. And we will see the value that we can provide in validation of these manufacturing assets in a brownfield, so in an existing environment, that we are able to simulate products and processes, behaviors before putting them into real world and into production. And there's also the step towards virtual commissioning in order to make sure that we have the minimum cost and time to ramp up the production. So for this model-based manufacturing, there's different steps that will be covered. We have in the beginning an immersive shop floor experience, which is about using this 3D scan, which I was mentioning already. This has been done with our partner Navis, who were in this plant of ABB customer in Shanghai. And we use this as the environment in order to introduce new equipment and see how this can be put together without disturbing current operations. Then we have the plant layout and resource lifecycle management that we focus, and this very important aspect is taking the engineering information also into account and go from the engineering bill of material to the MBOM, the process plan. We see work instructions and then also simulations regarding the welding process and also the factory flow at large. So for each of these different pods, we made a demonstration, and we will highlight this in a short video so that you get a good idea of what we are talking here. So this is now about the current operation. So it's not a greenfield, it's not starting from scratch and building a plant, but rather having an existing process and equipment in place. And you see here specifically this robot that we also had on our booth in action. So it's about the welding process of a car underbody. And it's now for the user important to understand what is really going on, to have a good foundation to understand what can be improved or how would the new equipment then fit into this scenario. Important here is also to be able to already capture information from real operation, as you see here in this picture in the left-hand corner, which is about the current state of the equipment running on the shop floor. And this gives valuable information for the planner in order to see how this process is carried out as of today and where there's room for improvement. Now, when it's about putting new equipment into place, we have the ability to use the equipment which we have in libraries so that you can standardize your equipment and you'll be really fast in order to set up and build new layouts. From there, we go to the process planning. This would be for a new product, for example. You have to make sure that all the fasteners, the weld points, are assigned to a specific robot, so that the part will be produced in the best possible or the least time. And you see here, and this is really something which is in all of our products, is a strong integration of 3D representation, of 3D data, in order to help the planner to make good decisions. Once all of the welding points have been assigned to the equipment, to the robot, we have the capability to also simulate the process. And this makes sure that upfront, before we continue with investing in hardware, we see that we can operate and produce the part with the equipment that we have in mind. This robot simulation then can also be downloaded as offline programming to your equipment on the shop floor. And this shortens, of course, the time to production and makes it much more efficient to do this offline than teaching online. You just seen that we clicked on this compass, which is part of the user interface of our 3D Experience platform. And this is allowing people that are no experts, for example, no robot simulation or robot programmer, to just replay and re-experience the content that has been provided by this expert in order to support their decision processes. Another aspect of the model-based manufacturing is having the connection between the virtual world and the real world, specifically with the work instructions that we see here. And work instructions are, in a way, a process plan, which combines 3D data with the different process steps, and you can add additional information which is relevant to the operator on the shop floor. And this is the close link between the virtual and the real. The final aspect that we want to focus on is the factory flow simulation, which shows how the overall facility works, also based on the different times that are not always the same, but you have some changes in your times, in process times, and you want to make sure that your processes are robust enough that you have potentially buffers in order to be able to deal with these different cycle times, which are stochastic. So with this model-based manufacturing, we built the foundation, what we can reuse and what we will continue to use the downstream processes to relate to when it comes to, that's the next step, for example, the virtual commissioning, but also the real operations inside of your plant. With the next part of the demo, we are moving closer to real operations and we're focusing on virtual commissioning. With virtual commissioning, we are reusing the model we just built in the step 4, and we integrate the different equipment we have in the cell, and by this we are mastering the complexity that we find in today's manufacturing equipment. So the value we have here is the synchronization of all the equipment in the industrial context, and we have the simulation of the processes that are running, and we have an environment in order to test PLC code prior to putting it on real PLC equipment. The value for you in this context is that you make sure that all the equipment is synchronized, running perfectly together, and you have this virtual environment to define your PLC code. And we emulate the code with a product we call Control Build, and this allows us to have not only the robot simulation but also the sensors of safety equipment, for example, combined. And you see here that we have this touch screen which allows you to really simulate the behavior of the buttons that the operator will press in real life. And on the other hand, you can see where you are in the PLC code and step through the different parts of the program. By this, we make sure that we have optimized code already in the virtual world, and we can use it then to put it on the real PLC. We connect the real PLC again with the virtual model so that we can make sure that what we will have on the real PLC has no or will not lead to any problems with the real equipment. And this is a really strong cycle in order to optimize codes and the simulation of the code up front. Following the virtual commissioning, we're moving now to the shop floor, to the real operations. And in our demo of manufacturing operations management, we see how we can reduce the waste that we have when running manufacturing assets and provide visibility, control, and synchronization about all manufacturing operations and also the supporting supply chain processes. So it's about not only driving the robot that we, in this example, have on our booth, but also getting back information from the equipment and to make sure that all supporting processes like maintenance are taken care of. And the benefit that we provide is that we have one data model, one process flow that spans different departments. And so we make sure that there are no silos between the different operation areas. For our robot, we see now that we get up-to-date information on the status of what is going on. So here we log in as the operator. We have here the machine state cockpit, which shows you all the equipment on your plant, and you see the current status. For example, here is a brake which has been authorized. For example, there needs to be some maintenance done, so it's okay that there's no running at the moment. And important is to be able to drill down to all of the operations which have been taken place. Here, for example, a KPI on the hourly production, you see the target. And there are times that you do not reach a target, so you can go even further and see what are reasons for downtimes. And this transparency helps, of course, to run your equipment most efficient way. Now for the operator, we are in a production console, as we call it, and there he really takes the customer order or the production order and carries this out. You see that there's always the possibility to get more information and to give this information to the operator. Here, for example, we have an integration to robot data, which is based on OSIsoft integration. OSIsoft, the partner of Dassault System. And you see here now that you can have on the one side this information also on a mobile device. And you see here the advance of the different welding spots that are carried out by the robot. And this is done by integrating the MOM platform with the equipment. We are usually going, and we also prefer and suggest going via OPC to have a platform in order to exchange this information. Here's now a link to ABB software. ABB has a platform called ABB Ability that collects information from the robot and allows the operator to see the status and see for non-conformancy in the operations. Now we see at that point how to use the virtual model again for the operations. You see here that you have a 3D model of the weld gun. And the operator detects that there is an issue. So we have here the capability of visual quality defect tracking. That means there's a way to locate a specific problem on the 3D model, provide some additional information. And then the operator is able to have a notification to the maintenance personnel and sending all this additional information already to this person so that he can get a better idea of what needs to be done in order to resolve this situation. So you see here now, you change the role that the maintenance manager is getting the notification. He opens it and he will receive exactly the same information based on the 3D representation of the weld gun. And so it's really easy for him to understand what is the problem and to think about the right way of how to resolve it. And this working together is a really strong aspect of the manufacturing operations management platform that we provide, so that everybody has the same data, the same information, and it's really much more agile and fast to react on these specific issues that occur. Now we've seen here that the maintenance manager confirmed that there needs to be a replacement, and with that the specific maintenance order has been placed. What we see now is that there are specific processes, for example, a recalibration of the weld gun that needs to take place once the replacement has been done. And again, here's all the transparency for the operator to see what is the current status of the work cell, and he's able to react and to run it in the most efficient way. Linked to the operation and all the way to the whole process, of course, is the quality management. And the quality processes start really early when it's about the specifications that we define. So already in the design phase, we need to make sure that we have the right quality inspection defined. And what we provide is the digital continuity to have the complete process covered from the requirement all the way to execute the quality inspection. And this is what we are seeing in this demo, which is in the really beginning. We use our RFLP data model of the 3D Experience platform, where you can, and that's the R of RFLP, where you can define requirements. And in these requirements, you have also the capability to add quality measures. And you see here, it's like, in a way, working like in a Word document. But important is that all the information is linked to data objects in the database. That means they are part of process that can be followed, and that you have a means of having status of this process and see what is the way of how to treat these different requirements. For the process FMEA, we then use the defined requirements and detail them so that we can say what needs to be done and what needs to be taken care of. And again, here you see that you can fill this spreadsheet type interface with elements out of the database. So that makes sure that all information is always up to date and captured in one central repository, so in one database. For the quality planning, you can now define specific parameters which need to be taken care of. And this is then the foundation for the execution of the process and quality processes, which will then be carried out by the operator on the shop floor. And there again, we have the link between the manufacturing operations management, what you see here, that you have the same way as you would have a production process. You have a quality process that needs to be executed. And here also the 3D model in order to support the operator in what measure needs to be taken or what is the specific topic that, or specific value that needs to be taken. With all the information we capture, we can also go into statistical process control to see what is the deviation from the standard that we have defined, and to also see if a quality measure is going into a wrong direction to take corrective measure. Then, and this is relating also to one of the levers that we had for Industry Renaissance about empowering your workforce, is using augmented reality to support quality processes. Here we see a way of how we can overlay the real world with information from the quality process and make sure that the operator is guided to the different things he has to take care of. And in the end, because we are working on a database, all the different measures are taken care of. We can also report, of course, on the status. And here, for example, we see a way of how to have dashboarding in order to see how a resolution of a specific problem is going on and where we are in the process, so that everybody has the right information and the visibility of where we stand. So with this, quality management is a really good example of how this digital continuity really works, all the way from virtual to the real execution, and then also capturing the information in order to see what is the status. From quality management, we move on to planning and optimization. So the planning gets more and more complex because supply chains, as we've seen in the beginning, are not linear anymore. We have value networks. And with that, we need to make sure that still, even at the model gets more complex, the customer gets its product at proposed times, and to make sure that we plan already really early in the process good locations of our facilities, for example. And on the other hand, be also able to go all the way down to the shop floor, to the four walls of your production, in order to be able to react on issues that occur on the shop floor, and there are always issues on the shop floor. And this is what we are targeting and calling this rescheduling, so the real close link between the execution of processes and the way to rebalance and replan to have the minimal problems that occur. So we start the planning and optimization with the sales and operations planning. So this is now really a long time in the future already. What you see here is KPIs that are calculated based on specific regions. So you are defining your sales plan, you have a forecast, and that you can break down into specific product categories. And you see here a way of how to visualize all your assets. That means you have your supply chain with the different facilities that provide parts of the equipment, that you have also some inventories defined, and you can see how these different assets in your manufacturing network are used for a specific car program or a specific product program. It's really important to always have the KPIs at hand so that you see if you make a decision, what is the effect of that. And here you see, for example, that you can build scenarios and that you see for fulfillment rate of 100%. So once you deliver all of your planned products, what is the, in that part, for example, the inventory level that you will achieve. And you also get information of where there are some problems. And you see this also in this color coding that, for example, for these lines in the body equipment facility, we are really running at full capacity. And then it makes sense to go into this specific facility and see what are the processes we have there. And you see here now the different work centers of a specific facility, and you see how a customer order breaks down into the different work centers, and you can see what is the service rate, for example, when you want to work on this order. And this is now a way to schedule, for example, a 2 weeks time frame that you send as a production program for the execution. But now, as things are happening on the shop floor, and here again we see DELMIA Apriso, so the manufacturing operations management part, he gets the order as it was planned from the detailed scheduling, but then things happen, and for example there's a breakdown in a machine, so there's the direct synchronization between what is the ongoing status of the execution. You see here, for example, this production order which is being worked on at the moment, and how it relates to the plan that you have been doing. So now there's, for example, some issue with your production process, and there you see directly the information that the order is not being processed in the time that has been planned, because there were some issues, and you've seen that in the demo pod before. As there's been some issue, you define a maintenance order. This maintenance order has a specific time, and for that time the equipment is not available. And this information is then directly passed also to the planning, or to the planner, who is able to use the optimization engine of the planning tool in order to find a solution on how to deal with this situation. Here again, you see now that there's this maintenance going on. You will see that with this gray bar that this machine is not available. And with the color coding, you see also the affected customer order. And now the planner has the capability to reschedule so that there is no delay in customer delivery. Planning and optimization, of course, needs data. And this leads us to the demo pod of IIoT, Industrial Internet of Things, and Manufacturing Analytics. So what we see is that we get more and more data from sensors in the machines and in the processes. But you need, of course, to be able to analyze all of this data, and most importantly, to put it into context so that you can put some actions on it, and that they will really provide, all the information will also provide value to you. And here we have capabilities for machine learning and the analytics, so that we have this actionable information and the decision support always in the context of what is going on in your plant and in your facilities. So what we see here is how we collect information with the IIoT integration, that we work on this information, for example, with the machine learning. And from there, we are able to understand what is happening and that's more important, what will be happening based on this predictive model that we build. And from there, we have the link back to planning and execution. So once we know that there's going to happen something in the near future, it's about the planner to use this information and already upfront optimize the production schedule so that there is time for necessary maintenance, for example. Now here again, we are in the 3D experience platform. You see that there's a factory map that we have included, and for this factory map we have all the different facilities. Now we are drilling down, so we are in this one specific facility in Shanghai. You see what are the machines, the work centers, and you are able to use all the information that you collect to see what is the current KPIs of this of the equipment. And from there you can then understand what is going on. You see, for example, here that the OEE of a specific machine is not as it was supposed to be. And now you can use this information in order to search the machine data of the specific equipment. And with machine learning, that takes into consideration a large amount of data and parameters, we figure out that there will be most likely an issue occurring in the future with a specific prediction accuracy, which was this 84%. And with that information, the planner has some means to be able to upfront plan already the maintenance when it fits best into the production schedule. And this is again what we have in this infinity loop also displayed, is that all the information works together, and with the real data we can go into the virtual model and enhance it. The last demo part is a specific one about lean management. Lean management with the flavor and the specifics of shop floor management. And this is focusing directly on this level of empowering your workforce. So that means how can we use the digital tools for your workforce to participate and to provide them more and more current information. So what we see today is that shop floor management is disconnected from company IT processes, and even that the methodology itself is really valuable because it helps to include the workforce into the process and the decision taking process. It's still difficult to translate all the actions defined into broader sense. That means like how can we work, for example, cross department on information that we collect in the shop floor meetings. And what we see here is how we use the 3D experience platform to extend the digital continuity also to this shop floor meetings, and on the one hand to get information but also to pass information to other departments. This lean management can be used in different ways. What we will focus here in the presentation is about this 5-minute meeting in the morning. That means the team comes together, and we will see here how we use, on the one hand, new technology, but also the integration into the existing data to support and to enhance the empowerment of the workforce. So for this 5-minute meeting, it's about defining what we want to discuss in this 5 minutes. So first of all, we see who is available as the team. Then we have some review of environment, health and safety measures from the day before. We see about quality non-conformances that occurred. We have a look on who's working where on that day. And most important is that all the actions that we take during this meeting will be put into context and also be visible for everyone. So what we have here as an overview is that we see a big touch board, like where all the team is standing in front of. That means we carry over the process of today's shop floor management meeting in a digital world. You see here that we had the day before some issue with the EHS, and there was somebody not respecting lifting rules, and you've seen here now in a way like you would do it in a paper-based process that we define some post-it, some incident that has been reported. And then, of course, we also need to define action on how to deal with that. And this information is now captured, and you see that for the yesterday, we have marked this issue and we can work on that later on. For the quality here now, it's important that we do not just take over information from an MES system, but that we really use like the fingertip in that context and move this non-conformance indicator to the value so that we really know that we are the ones in charge for that. And again, as it's not satisfactory, the number, we have to define an action for that one. Now also in terms of the team, they are able to define who is working at what specific part of the line, so it empowers also the teams that they themselves can decide who will take responsibility of what equipment on the line. And this 3D Lean board then also helps you to convey additional information. Here it's now, for example, that we have some issue with one of the stairways, so that there's a problem with the rail. And this is then additional information that we can just highlight here. And as this board is accessible always on the shop floor right next to the line for everyone, we can also use it just to display this information and to make sure things that have been discussed do not be forgotten. So this is now the action log, and this is really the most important aspect. So all the topics that have been defined now in this 5-minute meetings will need to be detailed. That means on the one hand, when will action be taken? And then on the other hand, also, of course, who is the owner of this action that needs to be taken? And this allows then to follow up on what is the status of this action and to make sure that things and activities are not just put on paper, but that they are really part of a process inside of an IT system that allows it to carry this over into a broader IT process. So this has been the 10 demo pods highlighting the digital continuity based on this example that and if you want to have this continuity, of course you need to have a portfolio that allows it to span all the global operations. And this is the DELMIA portfolio that we are offering, which spans all the way or reaches all the way from the link to the engineering with the manufacturing engineering part of it, where we have seen in the demo pod 4, this model-based manufacturing, that we have the step from the engineering bill of material to the MBOM, going from there to the process planning. We had the offline programming of the robot, and that we make sure that we build the virtual model to which we relate then all the information that we capture from real operations. And that we do with the manufacturing operations management part of our portfolio, where we have one data model for all the different functional domains, from production, quality, warehouse, maintenance, all the way to also field operations, if you have some equipment to be taken care of outside in the field. And that we combine all these different functional elements with one process in one platform. And this allows, as we've seen with this maintenance case, that everybody has the same information and that information processes are really much faster based on this manufacturing operations management platform. You want to make sure that your customer orders are taken care of in a good way, most efficiently. So there we are in the supply chain planning and operations part of the DELMIA portfolio, which starts really early when it's about defining sales and operations plans. For example, seeing how would a sales campaign, for example, work with the given facilities that we do have, and also be able to take decisions of the facility network, of the partner network, and the complete supply chain in order to make sure that the demand can be fulfilled. And from there we go all the way down to the shop floor, to the 4 walls of the production, where we have detailed scheduling capabilities and the rescheduling linked to information that we get from manufacturing operations management. Then there's one aspect like this 3D Lean, what we've seen in the end, which is putting this information also to the operators, to the shop floor, and to make sure that we can use existing and well-functioning methodology of shop floor management, but integrate it also into the IT processes. And in the end, it's all about getting information and making this information available to everyone and make it specifically actionable. And this is where the industrial analytics and predictive intelligence comes into play. So DELMIA is perfectly positioned to span all the way from virtual to real. And this is also what we see here. The location of the DELMIA brand within the overall Dassault Systèmes brand landscape. And Dassault Systèmes, with the different brands based on the 3D Experience platform, has the capability, as I started in the beginning, to provide the 3D Experience platform and the concept of the 3D Experience twin to drive the innovation process with the three drivers of Industry Renaissance, which is about connecting value, achieving the sustainable excellence by combining the virtual model with the real world operations and data, and not to forget also the workforce, so that everything what we do and what we support with our products also gives immediate benefit to our employees. The question then is, if you have a broad portfolio, you have a big initiative ahead of you, so where do you start? And this is where we develop the methodology of value engagement. As we see, it's on the one hand, of course, you need to provide the capabilities, which we do with the 3D Experience platform and all our solutions. But in the end, that needs to fit to your business, to your strategy. And value engagement is about defining the starting point of the innovation journey and then also the subsequent steps, so that you always, with your business priorities in mind, define what is the initial step that you want to take and where does it lead you in the long run. And this is what we see the core of defining the innovation process and what we can provide, and that's what we wanted to show also on the Hannover Messe and with the Hannover Messe demo, is how the Dassault Systèmes solution work together in order to have this digital continuity across the industrial operations. In the beginning, we had these 3 demo pods, which we did not focus on in this webinar, but I want to invite you also to visit the Hannover Messe booth and re-experience the Industry Renaissance in action. And what we did is that together with our partner Navis, who was also with us on our booth, we built a virtual Hannover Messe booth by scanning, doing a 3D scan of our booth, which is a combination of the point cloud and high definition images. And with this, we were able to have a virtual routing with points of interest. And with this interest, the point of interest you see here also on this floor map, we have the link to the demo videos, which I've presented today. Some of them are even a little bit more detailed. And we have additional Q&A videos, and I can just show you how this looks like with the Navis Indoor Viewer. And we will see here that we have our booth. There's the ABB robot, and then we can use this navigation pane in order to go to the initial demo pod, which would be the introduction. And once you click there, you see that there's the video linked, and you can see what we will show in the specific demo pod. Then you can follow this path, and you see here, for example, now the content of our demo pod 1 and 2, which we did not focus on in this webinar, which is about the robot design and validation with the robot architecture, for example, or the cell design. And you can use this compass here again to have the video of the content. And the Q&A, what we have here, gives some additional information of what we will show in this different demo pods. So this is an invitation from our side to also visit us virtually in Hannover. And I hope I was able to give you a good overview of why we believe that 3D Experience platform and the 3D Experience twin are the right concepts for building the innovation process, and also with a strong focus on industrial operations. Thank you very much. Now, if you have any questions regarding this webinar, please feel free to send an email to our mailbox at delmia.webinar@3ds.com, and all the questions will be answered individually. Thank you very much again for listening to the webinar.